Empirical extends Ruby with dynamic type assertions. Let me show you what that looks like. So I'm going to define a function called say hello. And we want this function to return a string. And it's going to just return hello world. Now let's define a test. And I'm just going to make this test puts example.sayHello. And let's run the test, and we can see immediately that we get hello world. Now, if I had returned a 1, we would get an error. If I had returned, let's put this back. If I return early with a 1, we get an error. If I return some kind of string, we're good. So it's checking that the output of this function is the type that we expected it to be. Let me move the puts up into this function. Now you can see that we're getting an error because puts actually returns a nil, and we are expecting it to return a string. Now, what do we expect this function to return? We actually don't expect it to return anything. This is a function that has a side effect that it puts something. It doesn't have a return value. So we can type this as returning void. And you can see we get another error, and it's because we're still depending on the return value of this function with this puts here. So if I delete the puts, you can see that we're now it's all in the clear. If I was to call some method on this, we can see that the error says some method was called on void. Methods that explicitly declare a void return type should not have their return values used for anything. So this kind of makes sure that we stick to the contract. If we said that this function is void, then we're going to make sure that it is void. Now let's rename the function to log. And let's make it a little bit more generic. Let's make it take a message. So let's say it has a message, and that is just going to be a string. Now we can replace this string here, and let's just put the message. And the error that we've got is because we're not passing a message. So let's say hello down here, and now we're back to it working. And if I had passed in a 1, we would get this error. It says example log message expected string got an integer 1. So all of the information is there. This is essentially like the class name of this file. This is just something you get from QuickDraw. So now we're able to validate input and output at the same time. Now what if I wanted to pass some additional info here? Let's pass a level, right? Let's take the keyword argument level, and this is going to be a symbol. And we're going to return, let's do level.toS.uppercase, and then let's do our message. So our error here is that we're not passing in level. Actually, no, it's that we were passing in 1 when we were meant to pass in a string. And now it's saying that we need to pass in a level. So let's say info. And now we're back to it working. But we don't really want to be able to pass any symbol as a level. We actually only have info, warn, and error. So let's define a type. Let's call it level. And this is just a union of info, warn, and error. And now we're going to change this level to be level. And if I change this to some other symbol, we get an error. If I change it to warn, then we're good. Let's update this this function to take an array of logs. So let's create a type called log. And we want this type to be a tuple, a special array where the first item is going to have exactly 2 items. The first item is going to be a string, and the second item is going to be a level. So let's change the signature here to take an array of log, and we don't need to pass a level anymore. Now the error is that we are passing in the wrong thing, so we need to instead pass in an array of hello do this info, and let's say goodbye as 1. And the issue now is that we don't have these variables, so we need to iterate over them. Also, let's name this logs. So let's say logs.each do, and we get the message first, and then we get the level. And now we're back to this working. Now, what if I didn't want to wrap these in an outer array? I just want them to be splatted into this method. Well, there's a shortcut that we can use to turn this positional argument into a positional splat. And instead of doing _array like this, we can get rid of that, and we just wrap this in an array. And that's like a special syntax that we use to say that this should be a positional splat. And now you can see we're back to this working. So the function that this generates is going to be star logs as the input parameter. And that's all for today.